Hello everyone, I am Tynan Sylvester, and this is RimWorld Alpha 11. There are a ton of improvements in this one, including a good chunk of new content. So let's just get into taking a look at what it is. The first big improvement has to do with the AI handling killbox defensive strategies. And so this is the killbox here. And in the old days, bad guys would just waltz in this front door and get themselves completely destroyed, and it wasn't very interesting. So now we've added, in addition to the old strategies, which will still be used by enemies sometimes, so killboxes will still be effective. In addition to that, we've added I've added the Sappers strategy. So I'm just going to force a raid using Sappers on this colony. Uh-oh, they're landing in front. So what they're going to do is they should actually avoid this area because the turret coverage is so strong. They're smart enough to analyze the layout of this base and not just waltz right into your defenses like idiots. So here they come. They're showing up. It looks like they would have gone to the front if they were the old school enemies, but they decided to do something different here. In fact, we see that this group is led by Duald here, I think, or by Vang. And they are actually going to do something else entirely. What could they be doing? And this is the oh shit moment where players will be like, oh crap, they're actually mining a path into the base at this random position back here. Now luckily, our tester who created this base was a little bit clever about this, so they created this sort of gutter around the side of the base, or the outside. So the enemies are going to mine their way in there. So yeah, you're going to find that I'm really excited to see how people are going to respond to these changes in how the combat works, because it's going to really change the strategies and I think make it more interesting. Obviously, you'll still be able to build nice fortress-like defenses, but they're going to actually have to look like fortresses. Which is going to be a lot more interesting than just building a single doorway with a ring of turrets around it, which was always pretty stupid. And the other thing is, some enemies are still going to be vulnerable to this single doorway, because not everyone's going to do this sapping thing. So if you get animal attacks, if you get mechanoids, or certain groups of raiders, they're just going to come in the front door as usual. So I'm hoping to see a lot of mixed strategies from that. So the next cool thing I want to show you in more detail is the traps. There's 3 traps right now, although we'll probably add more in the future. First one is the deadfall trap, which is really simple. It's just this like spiky weight thing that falls on an enemy's head. And it can be rearmed after it's used. So I'll just spawn a drifter here to show you. See, he ran through, he hit it, it discharged on him, and now he's got a stab on his right arm. So, you know, the damage is randomized. It can take him down in one hit if it stabs him right in the brain, or they can take several of these if not. Sometimes they won't trigger if enemies walk over them. They'll trigger less or not at all if tiny animals walk over them. And your colonists will intelligently avoid them. Although if you force your colonists to pass through traps, they will go through them and slow down, but occasionally still set them off. So you want to leave a way around your own traps for your colonists to use. The next thing is, let's just get rid of this guy now. There are also IED traps. So there's the normal one, which is just sort of a landmine type bomb thing. And then there's the incendiary one, which ignites and sets fires. These are made out of artillery shells. So I'll spawn a few more guys, and we'll see how they look when they... Whoop, oh. So you can see there's a little bit of a delay, and I've also added AI so that intelligent characters are smart enough to run away from things that are about to explode, including turrets or these traps. Yeah, they ran into the kill box. So let's just put these fires out. So they'll run away from these explosives, but sometimes the explosives will have a bit of a delay so that they can get away, and sometimes they won't. There's a bit of randomness in there. So explosive traps can be very useful, but obviously they will blow up your own building if they're indoors. They will set off chain reactions. The incendiary ones will set fires, so I've seen people create a sort of heat trap where they create a room and lure enemies into it and then have incendiary bombs inside along with like wooden beds, which ignite and heat the inside of the room up so much that the enemies just keel over from heat stroke. So there's some interesting stuff that's been going on there. So what's next? So now let's go over some of the new incidents in the game. An incident is basically just one of the events that the storyteller can make occur to keep the game more interesting. And I've added several of them to try to spice things up. And it's a nice sort of sunrise scene right now. However, every now and then what you're going to get is this toxic fallout event. So let's turn it on. A distant chemical fire has released a plume of poison over this entire region. Any person or creature not under a roof will be slowly sickened by the toxic dust settling out of the atmosphere. It will last for anywhere between a few days to over a month. So this is a pretty rough event. It'll really kill off the ecosystem. And if you let your guys go outside, they will slowly suffer toxic buildup, just along with enemies and animals and any organic creature outside. If you look carefully, you can see the toxic fallout drifting down out of the sky. And the light outside turns sort of this yellowish color to emphasize how sickening it is. So I'm just really just going to use Doug as our test bed. And it takes a while for toxic fallout to build up. It's not like they walk outside and they're instantly dying. So, you have a bit of a grace period. But you're going to have to use the new area or allowed area feature to keep them indoors, and I'll show you that feature later. Now, his toxic buildup is at 5%, which just barely affects him. But over time, it's going to increase, of course, eventually reaching a point where he'll collapse and then later on die if he doesn't get rescued. High levels of toxic buildup can also cause secondary health problems like dementia. So there's that one. And now to make it even more fun, I'm going to run the Volcanic Winter event. A distant supervolcano has erupted and begun spewing millions of cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere. Ash in the atmosphere will obscure the sun. Temperatures will drop and plants will suffer for lack of sunlight. It could pass in a few weeks, or it might last many months. So ordinarily these two incidents wouldn't happen together, but they can. Yeah, it's volcanic winter, which means that your sunlight's going to be reduced. It takes about a day to really kick in. But this will affect farming outdoors. It will harm the ecosystem, and it can last a long time. So this is like, we're looking at long-term events now. I really wanted to create events that generate a lot of story, and I think it's more interesting, or there's a lot more story possibilities when the events overlap. And so that's why I'm trying to create events that last a while, so you can have combat during the volcanic fallout, or a warg attack during the toxic fallout, etc., etc. So there's more events. The next one I want to show you is the Manhunter pack. This is based on the idea that animals can go crazy, but their craziness has become a little bit more specific now in how it works. So this is a pack of man-hunting wargs have entered the area. They will roam the region hunting for humanoid flesh. They can't pass doors, so if you stay behind walls, you should be safe. They'll leave the area in a few days. There's the wargs. These new creatures we added in. They're sort of these genetically modified, weaponized wolves. And they'll come and hang around your base for a while, and if you go outside, they'll rip you to shreds. So you can fight them, and if you do, you'll get their fur. But if you just leave them alone, they won't act like raiders and try to bash the door down. They'll actually just hang around outside because they're animals and they don't really get the concept of bashing through doors, or it's just not something they do. So that gives you another strategy in how you want to respond, which is to just not go outside. So of course you can accomplish this by just forbidding your doors. Locking has been replaced by forbidding because it's a bit clearer as to what exactly it means. And your characters won't go outside. But so here they are. They'll just sort of mill around outside, hoping that we come out until they get hungry and leave. If visitors come, they'll shred your visitors. If raiders come, they'll attack the raiders, unless they're mechanoids, because they don't care about mechanoids. So I'm hoping to see a lot of interaction between these different types of raids. But there's a new feature to help you deal with threats like this and the toxic fallout. and that is the allowed areas. So there's some already set up, but I'm going to create a new one. We'll call it, rename it as indoors. Now the allowed areas are just defined areas where a colonist is allowed to be. And you paint them out on the map like this, and then you just assign them to your colonist. So here we've created that allowed area. So anything not in that area will be considered forbidden for the colonist. If we do a disjoint thing like this, he can still take a destination on that side and travel to it. So it's not like they absolutely can never go outside of it, but he won't take destinations outside of it. So Shu just walked outside, and now he's getting himself taken apart by the wargs, which is predictable. So in order to prevent that from happening to everyone else, I'm going to go to the overview, go to the restrictions, and then assign the indoors area to everyone. As you can see, when I mouse over it, it appears in the map, same as these other areas which were previously defined. And it's very easy and quick to assign these. Like if I want to assign everyone here, I just click and drag that down, or I can unrestrict everyone, or unrestrict him. Do indoors for everyone and leave Shu unrestricted, or so on and so forth. But I'll just set everyone indoors. We close that, and now they won't go outside. So Shu is laying there bleeding out. We could try to go rescue him or not. Depends how much you like him, or how bad his injuries are, and so on and so forth. You can see which area is assigned down here on the reworked inspect pane, which once again has a mouse over, and you can even set it if you want down there. So that's allowed areas. I think they've been requested for a long time. They're just a little tricky to implement, so it took me a while to get to them. But now that they're there, I'm thinking they'll be invaluable for a lot of different strategies. And I've tried not to make them too prescriptive in exactly what they do for you. Like there's no emergency areas or such where it assumes that it's about going inside for raiders or something like that, because there's a lot of different ways to use these things and different types of threats to use them against. So I've tried to just make the central interface as elegant as possible so you can really quickly change the allowed areas. And okay, let's look at a few more interesting events. One is the chased refugee. So, refugee chased. A bartender named Dolores Herbert calls you from nearby. This is assuming everyone has short-range radios. She is being chased by pirates from Die Blick Fraction. Yes, this game was loaded from one created by our German testers, so all the factions have German names. Anyways, she begs for safety and offers to join your colony. Biologically, she's 34 years old. If you accept, you'll have to fight off the pirates on her tail. So you can ignore poor Dolores, and she'll just go away, or you can offer her safety. Dolores will now join your colony. There she is. She's a chubby woman who is trying to harvest some corn. I'm going to set her area to indoors. She immediately stops trying to harvest the corn and will now try to go indoors. It might be tricky with those wargs. But anyways, we'll just fast forward a little bit. And now there's that's fine. The raiders on her tail have shown up. So that's the chased raiders event. Now maybe I'm just being clever here because I accepted her during the warg attack. So if I can just get Dolores indoors, then the wargs will actually take care of the raiders for me, which would be a nice bonus. And one other incident is the psychic soothe. Where the heck is it? So the old psychic, I don't think she's going to make it, honestly. The old psychic, she didn't even make it. Okay. The old psychic drone would cause all your colonists of one gender to have a poor mood, but this one causes the colonists of one gender to have a good mood. So this one is a psychic soothe on female colonists. So if we just look at Trovatelli's thoughts, she's got the psychic soothe, which is giving her a little bonus. So it's just a little variation on something that we had in the game. And now the raiders are showing up, and the wargs are going to go after them. Now they're actually going to try to kidnap Dolores. Piotr is trying to kidnap Dolores while the wargs are ripping apart his friends. So I've never even seen this before, but I just love emergent gameplay. And before we go, I just want to show you some of the smaller miscellaneous improvements. I've made hundreds of these, including bug fixes and balance changes. So obviously I'm not going to go through them all, but some of the things that people have requested. You can actually assign floors for removal now. So you see I've got this metal floor all over this place. So if I just put it down the remove floor designator, then my colonists are going to come and remove it to reveal whatever was underneath before, which in this case is soil. So now when you lay down a wooden floor on the jungle terrain, it won't be this crazy permanent thing that lasts forever. Various other little interface improvements. You know, we've got a stripping designation. So say you have a pile of corpses. Let's just create a pile of corpses here. Well, in the old days, you'd have to, click the guy, right-click, and do strip him, strip him, strip him. Well, now it's much simpler. You can just drag the stripping designation over them all, and they'll all get designated. But of course, none of that work's going to get done because these guys are restricted indoors. Now, if I turn off that restriction, they'll immediately go outside, and the wargs will rip them to shreds, so I'm not going to do that. The next thing is a lot of these icons and such have been improved. Cut plants has a sort of nice sword icon. Things are reverse designatable. And yeah, what else we got? Yes, door holding. So yeah, you can set doors to actually be held open now. And if they're auto doors, they'll do it immediately. So you can do this. You can make traps with this if you have a source of temperature on one side and enemies on the other. If you just open the door, suddenly the temperatures will start equalizing really fast. And yeah, or you can let animals in by opening doors and so on and so forth. Like here, if I just open that bad boy, the wargs will rush in, or one warg. So then I can, or two wargs here. I'll close it, and now we can kill the wargs. Yeah. That's it. That is RimWorld Alpha 11. I really hope you guys like it. I wouldn't say there's nothing left for me to add, but to me it feels like a pretty well-rounded game at this point. Obviously, it's the kind of game that I could work on forever. There's really no limit to how much this kind of simulation is expandable. But there's a point where it feels like it's pretty satisfying, and I feel like we're getting there, which is really gratifying for me. So I hope you guys like it. I am Tynan Sylvester. I tweet at Tynan Sylvester, and we're always on the forum, so come on down to ludion.com/forums to have your say in what's going to go on and just say hello. And that's it. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys like the game.